Hello there. I just watched a video by Alistair Williams. I think he's quite funny, and I've been watching his channel for a few years on YouTube. I'll link the video I watched below. He's talking about the recent advert that's a lot of people have talked about from Jaguar, where there's lots of very brightly dressed people. They're in a lift, and then it's saying copy nothing, break the mold. What else does it say? All kinds of strange things. Yeah, and it's sort of, all the people are quite very individual looking, and Alistair Williams making the point in the video, he's commenting on it, that it's some deliberate attempt to smash the brand, similar to Bud Light, what happened there. Possibly, but he's saying that, it's part of the general malaise as he sees it, and certainly as some people see it, that everything's being broken up, everything's being turned into this sort of, what he might seems to be saying is like a freak show, in order to break the sense of what's normal. I don't know, I wonder whether it's some kind of double bluff in a way, that doing that advert, they know what their reaction's going to be from many people, and certainly many people who would have, I don't know whether they would have considered buying a Jaguar, but people who like Jaguars or like the idea of owning one and are aware of what the brand seemed to suggest before, it's got people talking about it, making videos about it, and then making videos about it, and haven't been on Twitter for about a week, and I'm feeling better for that, actually. But when I was on it, a lot of people were talking about this Jaguar advert there, but I'm wondering if it's a kind of double bluff where, a bit like, and this goes back a bit in time, I think to the 90s even, the United Colours of Benetton. So this is like 25, 30 odd years ago, I think it was. I think it was around about that time, but when they put out a series of adverts, and they're kind of known for these kind of fluffy jumpers and pastel shade jumpers. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. And they were using an advertising approach where they were showing all kinds of quite extreme images of, I think, like hunting and things to do with poverty and difficulties, and jumpers weren't mentioned at all. And as similar to this Jaguar advert, you don't see a car in it. And when I was on Twitter about over a week ago now, I noticed that Jaguar, whoever was running their social media account there, that they were kind of, they were defending the advert and saying, well, just you wait, this is just part one, we've got something else for you next, type of idea. It's just the beginning, something like that. So it's kind of keeping them, the idea they want to keep them hooked into the outrage train, really. But it does have the effect of everybody talking about it. Whether that translates, as I believe it did, into with Bud Light, I think some of their sales really dropped, lost a lot of money in terms of shareholders and stuff like that, and sales went really tanked. This approach for Jaguar, I don't think they're doing it. The company itself doesn't want to smash itself. I don't believe that's the case. In the Alistair Williams video, which I'll link below, he seems to say, well, the people that run the world want all these things that we used to kind of know and rely on and believe we kind of knew what it meant, Jaguar. had a certain kind of cachet or whatever. And the people who run the world don't care about that, and it's a deliberate kind of cultural vandalism, as it were. But Jaguar is a company that wants to stay in business and sell cars. I'm just wondering if they've done it as a kind of a bit of a double bluff, and it does work and will translate into selling cars purely because so many people are talking about it. Gets their name around a lot more, perhaps, relatively, and it's all relative, isn't it? Relative to the other cars that people might want to buy within that price bracket. I know it's probably a range of cars they've got from certain, but they're quite posh cars, aren't they? I believe. I don't think I've ever been in one. I like the look of the old Jaguars that you might have seen in episodes of the Sweeney, I suppose, in the 70s and things like that. I remember seeing them as a kid, you know, seeing as a child, seeing a Jaguar and thinking, oh, that's a nice car, I like that, and the Jaguar little thing at the front, which often gets knocked off or stolen, I suppose, or broken. But that old style of Jaguar, I did like it. I do like the look of it, and the E-type ones and things like that. I just wonder if the people doing an advertising campaign like that, that they know all too well the kind of consternation and sort of outrage is probably too strong, but the mockery, the wish to say something about it within this sort of social media world will be so. There'll be so much of it that it will magnify their advertising way more than had they done something that they'd been doing before and sticking to the idea of what a Jaguar buyer might be, where they might be in their life, kind of flattering them in some way that you'll be this kind of person, you must be this kind of person to have one or to want one, in the way that adverts flatter people who get to own this particular product, especially if it's a sort of aspirational one like a Jaguar, I suppose. If you think of it, things like that, if you think of cars in that sense. But yeah, so I just wondered, I'll put the link below to Alistair Williams' video, and I do like his videos, and I like listening to his point of view, and he might well be right, and the sales tank, they drop down, but it could work the other way. I suppose the only way to know will see what happens to the sales of Jaguars, if anybody can be bothered to do that. I mean, it, as said, when I did see it about 7 or 8 days ago, well, it would have been more than 7 days ago on Twitter, the Jaguar Twitter account was kind of not being apologetic for it. It was kind of like carrying on and saying, oh, well, this is just the first part, you know. Wait, that was the kind of vibe. Wait to see what we've got next for you, and you'll be intrigued by that type of idea. And it garnered a lot of responses. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't make a video when I'm snuffly, but I just thought I'd make a little video about that, and we'll see, I guess. It doesn't matter to me personally, but there's all kinds of techniques of advertising, and it reminded me a little bit of the United Colours of Benetton one. It's before the mass computers. People had, I think it was before everyone had PCs or laptops. Definitely, and but it was kind of the imagery that they used in adverts in newspapers and indeed in their shops. I can't remember the last time I saw a United Colours of Benetton shop. I don't know if they still exist even, but they had what seemed to a lot of people, a very strange campaign in which the imagery had nothing to do with high price sort of jumpers, you know, and cardies and whatever and whatnot, all that kind of stuff, and whatever else they sold, you know. It was clothes basically, wasn't it, in kind of pastel sort of shades, as I remember. Quite nice colours it seemed to be. I never owned one, I've never owned a Jaguar yet, but I do like the old-fashioned ones. And that's it. That's what I thought I'd say about this Jaguar advert, and I'm kind of interacting with Alistair Williams's take on it in terms of it being part of a concerted, a concerted effort to smash brands that almost like break up the things that were reliable in some way, and people felt they knew what it meant, and it's a subversion, some kind of act of subversion and breaking up. But we'll see how it goes, I guess. He does say quite a funny line in it, because he shows you clips of the actual advert. I don't know how you do that yet. I've been trying to find that out, but it seems a bit complicated to me at the moment. How you download clips from other videos? How do you do that into a file and then insert them in your own video? I think I've heard that you can use some kind of video downloading software, but I'm a bit wary of stuff on the internet, so maybe I'll try that one day. Seems a bit complicated for me at the moment. But anyway, Alistair Williams does that, and you've got all these brightly coloured, brightly dressed people, and kind of wacky sort of people, I suppose so. And he says some interesting things in this video. It's only 9 minutes long. It's my video's longer than that. Oh my God, I'm rabbiting too much, I know. But he says, not everybody wants to look like a tube of Starburst, like the sweets. I thought that was quite funny. And he also said, there was another phrase comes up in the advert, delete ordinary. And I agree with him as a message. It's quite an aggressive message. And it's the idea that he's saying, Alistair, in his video, well, being ordinary, what is, if everything's mad, nothing's ordinary, it's like kind of hell, really. It's kind of a kind of hell. That's what I took to what he meant. I took for what he meant. Oh, I can't even speak now. It's too late. That's what I took. He meant it as. Took him. I don't know. That's how I took his meaning. I can't even speak the English language just watching these adverts. And where was I then? I've got lost. He's I've been watching some funny small channels lately, and there's a kind of edge of sadness to them, as perhaps there is to mine. But it's kind of people saying, oh, there's so much hate on YouTube, or don't hate my channel, you're full of hate, don't come onto my channel with your hate. It's like, there's all human life is here. I forget where that's from, but that used to be like a saying, all human life is here, isn't it? And some non-human, perhaps. You never know. But the other thing he says, which I think is quite clever or interesting, Alistair Williams, he said, well, if this idea of deleting ordinary is that if everybody, he said, what do people who want to stand out, like by the way they dress or behave, what do they need in order to do that? And he said, well, obviously you need normal people around you to make the differential, and that is true, isn't it? It's this idea, I suppose, similar to if everything's special, nothing's special. You've got to have this kind of background thing to stand out against. So it relies on the quote-unquote normal people, whatever that means, to stand out from them. You need them as the kind of background. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Gosh, bit of a ramble that, but I thought it was quite interesting, and if somebody wants to give me a Jaguar, I'll definitely drive it. I'm just kidding. The the car that I've owned in my life. I don't own a car at the moment, but I used to drive a Nissan Micra, which I really liked. Well, I've had two Nissan Micras in my life. One lasted quite a while, but they were both second hand. The first one I bought only for £500, and it was great. I really relied on it for a period in which I really needed it. And certainly with the second one for different reasons, also a Nissan Micra. But talking about hate on the videos, with some of these channels saying, don't come on my video and give me all this hate, stay off my... When I used to drive the Micra, the first one, we used to be, because I wasn't a fast driver. I'm quite sort of pedestrian, sort of. I never wanted to go over 56 miles an hour because I had it stuck in my head that 56 miles an hour, I must have seen it on some public information film or something like that. 56 miles an hour was the optimum speed for fuel efficiency, but probably cars have changed in 40 years. And I didn't own this first Micra until I was in my mid-40s anyway, so or something like that, mid-40s, getting on for 50. I didn't own any cars before that in my life, but I wouldn't want to drive over 50. But my friend and I were in the Micra. It was a lovely green colour, this one, like a bottle green colour. It was the old-fashioned Micra with a sunroof, and it was lovely. Again, it cost £500, and I can't remember how many miles it did. How many miles was on it when I got it? Maybe about 60,000, 50,000. But in the end, I did, like, before it finally gave up the ghost, did about 120,000 on it. And it was vital, that car, in the time I had it, and it was sad when it finally went. And as I was with the second one that I had up until last June, which was a silver one, the more modern. They had slightly different shapes, the later ones. I wonder if I'll ever have another Micra to make it 3. They're quite nice little things for parking and so forth. But anyway, my friend and I was in the first Micra, and we'd be overtaken if I was driving, because I wouldn't. We'd be overtaken and there'd be people gesturing through the window with like contorted hate on their faces. Their faces contorted with hate, I should say. And once, it was like what looked like quite an elderly couple in another kind of saloon type of car, and they were like like they were enraged that I was going so slow. I was probably doing about 40 something, 45 in a 50 run or whatever. And as they went by, there were like these faces up. In my memory, it's that both their, and that's not possible, but both their faces were staring out the same window with this hatred on their faces for the Micra and us in it, and the fact that I'd be driving so slowly or whatever upset them. But it was, and they were like in their, older than I am now. It seemed to attract the haters, or perhaps partly because of how I drove it, and I never liked overtaking people, not even tractors or anything really, or a squirrel. I didn't want to overtake a squirrel or whatever it was. Anyway, it's gone on a bit long now, this video, but I'll put the link below, and hopefully you'll enjoy Alistair's channel. If you look at some of his other stuff, he's a comedian as well, and I think that was his main job, but he also does commentary on different things. But he's a funny guy, and got some very insightful stuff on his channel there. All right, take it easy and have a good weekend. Bye for now.